What's up guys, my name is Scott and you're watching Kentucky Ballistics. And today we're going to shoot some ballistics gel with a 10mm and a 357 Magnum. In a previous video I asked you if you wanted me to do 10mm versus 45 or 10mm versus 357 Magnum. You guys gave me a lot of answers and you know what, I'm just going to give you both those. But today we're going to start out with 10mm versus 357 Magnum. There's a lot of debate between which is better, 10mm or 357. I'm not here to give you that answer today, and honestly I'm a big fan of both calibers, but what I am going to do is shoot some ballistics gel and show you our results. So we're going to be using some 10% ballistics gel made by Clear Ballistics. The firearms we're going to use in today's video are a Smith & Wesson Model 686 357 Magnum with a 4-inch barrel, very nice gun, and a Glock Gen 4 Model 20 chambered in 10mm, also a very nice gun. As for the ammunition used in today's video, we're going to be using all Underwood ammo. If you're interested in Underwood ammo, there will be a link in the description down below that will take you right to their website. Now I'm going to use a lighter bullet and a heavier bullet for both the 10mm and the 357 Magnum. So for the 10mm, we have a 150 grain hollow point and a 200 grain hollow point. And for the 357 Magnum, we have a 125 grain hollow point and a 158 grain hollow point. I will leave the advertised ballistics for this ammunition in the description down below. Now let's head outside and get started. Okay, we're going to start out with a 357 Magnum, and we're going to use the 158 grain hollow point. And let's see if we can get this on the first try and not have it shoot out the top of the block or out the side. How about that? Okay, that 357 Magnum did quite a bit of damage. And here's our entrance hole, of course. And here's a look at the wound channel. And the wound channel is measuring just a little over 25 inches. We're right at about 25.5 inches. We're going to stick with the 357 Magnum. Now we're going to use the 125 grain hollow point. I shot the table. Whoops! Okay, let's try again. Aimed a little low. I shot the table again!
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
So I normally aim pumpkin on a post, and I was aiming like right here. Well, I needed to compensate because we were so close, and I shot the table. Not once, but twice. So, my mistake. But luckily, we didn't damage the gel any. We just hit the table, so that's good. I'd been really upset if I fouled up the gel. So here's our entrance hole, and you can see that that bullet broke up pretty quick. It dumped a lot of energy really fast. And then we continued on until the end of the block, and it looks like it made it into the second block a little bit, and then it just kind of came back into the first block. Yes, I know the tape measures upside down, but it's just how it has to be. Looks like the wound channel for the 125 grain 357 Magnum is right at about 17 inches. Okay, now we're going to use 10mm, and we're going to use the 200 grain hollow point. Ooh, that's going to be a close one. Ooh, that's going to be a close one. So here's the 200 grain 10mm. Got us a nice wound channel there. Looks like the bullet did break up a little bit. You can see some little pieces there. And then we stopped in the second block. And the length of our 10mm 200 grain hollow point wound channel is right at about 22.5 inches. And here's your little comparison between the 200 grain 10mm and the 158 grain 357 Magnum. And now last, the 10mm 150 grain hollow point. Let's see if we can go 4 for 4. Keep this one in the block. Dang it! We shot out the top of the block. Alright. So I wanted our 10mm right next to each other, but the bullet decided to shoot out the top of the block and hit our piece of wood right there. So I aimed a little lower, and you can see our wound channels are not touching. We hit fresh gel, and it looks like the bullet stopped in the second block. That 150 grain bullet is so light that it broke up quite a bit. You can see a few pretty big chunks in the wound channel before the bullet comes to a stop in the second block. And our 10mm 150 grain hollow point wound channel is right at about 17.5 inches. Okay guys, I got these bullets out of the gel. Let's weigh them real quick. First up is the 357 Magnum 125 grain hollow point. We got 110.6. Now the 158 grain 357 Magnum hollow point. And we're getting 136.7. Now the 150 grain 10mm. We got 110. And now the 200 grain 10mm. We get 193.3. So now we'll go ahead and measure these things. First up is the 357 Magnum 125 grain hollow point. And we're getting a 0.56. Next up is the 357 Magnum 158 grain hollow point. And we're getting 0.523. Now the 10mm 150 grain hollow point. And we're getting 0.61. And last, the 10mm 200 grain hollow point. And we're getting 0.612. Alright guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely had a lot of fun making it. I always get really excited when we do a ballistics gel video. I'm always curious to see what the bullet's going to do when it hits the gel. You know, what kind of wound channels it's going to leave, how far in the gel is it going to make it, all those things. I always get a lot of enjoyment when we do one of these videos. So since today's video was 10mm versus 357 Magnum, I thought I would ask you, if you prefer 10mm, what is your favorite firearm chambered in 10mm? Or if you prefer 357 Magnum, what is your favorite firearm chambered in 357 Magnum? I like both, so I'll give you both. If it's 357 Magnum, going to go with the Smith & Wesson Model 686. If it's 10mm, I'm tied between the SIG P220 Elite 10mm. I just really like the way that gun looks. It's just really, really pretty. And the Glock Model 40 10mm long slide. It's already optics ready. It's got a longer barrel. It holds more rounds. It's also just a really cool gun. Let me know what your answers are in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're a new subscriber, don't forget to hit that little bell at the top. It's going to give you notifications when we upload new videos. We upload new videos every week. If you're interested in Kentucky Ballistics clothing, there's a link in the description down below that will take you to our shop. Also links in the description down below that will take you to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget to check us out over there too. Once again, my name is Scott. You've been watching Kentucky Ballistics, and I'll see you next time.